Lady Justice inviting all of the people out on an adventure. Let's go see what we can find. Who's in?
There we go, and we're live.
All right. I'm very much alive. You go on the tour and have a good time.
All right. Oh, I guess I'm going the wrong way.
Hey, hey, hey. Guess where Lady J is today? We're out here in fantastic Caverns. Hey, hey, hey.
Check this thing out. This is so cool. Especially with hoping to see some of the wildlife or whatever that might be down in there.
Oh,
Isn't that neat? I think
yeah.
that would be particularly interesting to boys. Maybe.
Absolutely.
It's Heather. Be a tour guide this afternoon. Who's got tickets? I need to see the tickets.
I thought this was a pop quiz.
Oh, we'll have some of that. We stay in the Jeep or the trailer at all times. You don't need to get out and run around in the dark and get lost in there. She's the one to watch, isn't she?
Huh?
You're the one to watch.
Yeah, yeah, right.
This is a collaboration.
So, we will get very close to some of the rocks and formations in the cave. There are oils on our hands that will stop the cave from growing, so please don't touch. If you're tempted, sit on your hands. Works. You can take all the pictures you'd like. You can use the flash. It's not going to hurt anything. We're going to head on down the hill and get started.
We just We're entering into the cave now.
I almost touched the wall already. Yeah, of course. Right. I'm going to sit on my hands.
Oh, look how cool that is. It's kind of steamy in here. My glasses got steamy.
Right up here, this is Katie. Katie's going to take our picture for us. So look right up there on the hill.
All right, I'll take your picture in 3, 2, 1. There we go.
Gotta make sure you're happy. Gotta make sure you're happy.
Uh-huh.
Watch your heads.
Could you imagine walking into this thing? To start that?
This side of the low spot, driver's side, right there.
So the walls are chrome?
Uh-huh.
Wow. I love the lights.
It's pretty cool.
Every cave has got 3 zones where we entered. It's called the entrance zone. You can remember that, right? Yes, okay. Ahead of us, what would you call it up there? Dark zone. Yeah, there you go.
The mezzanine.
Dark zone. Technical terms. Entrance zone, dark zone, where we are right now for the light and the dark meet. Any ideas on this one?
Midpoint.
No.
The between.
No.
Between.
We are in the twilight zone.
The Twilight Zone. I
So
love it.
animals from outside, they're not going to come much further than this. There's no food in the cave for them, and they still need to see to find their way out again. So this is about as far as daylight would come into the cave. Makes it look like twilight right here. Now, right over here, this is a garden bed. This was put in the 1930s during the Great Depression. Not a lot of people were taking cave tours at the time. So the landowner, he needed to figure out a way to make a little extra money. What would you grow in a cave?
Hemp.
No.
Mushrooms.
There you go. He grew those little button-top mushrooms down here. Sold them at area markets, made it through the Depression that way. Mushrooms are a fungus. They don't require sunlight to grow. They like the dark and the damp. And they're pretty much the only thing that's going to grow in a cave, except for the cave itself, which is still growing. So all along the ceiling, you can look right overhead. There's some back here as well. These are soda straws. They are thin and hollow, just like a straw, with water coming down the center, and they are the beginning of the larger formations that we see in here. So if it's on the ceiling, it probably started as one of these little soda straws. Now, before we get these formations growing in here, we have to have the cave. And do you know how caves form? Any ideas?
Water flow.
Yeah, water. So this is a solution cave. It means it's formed by water. Everything in it's made by water. And with the right kind of rock, this is limestone. It's very porous, lots of holes. We get water coming down from the surface and groundwater. That mixes with carbon dioxide. It makes a weak acid. And all this rock dissolves away. So this has all been dissolved. Holes get larger, water flows faster. Eventually that water drains out, leaving the cave behind. Now these formations can start to grow. We're gonna head on up there, see what sort of formations we get in here, what those little soda straws turn into when they get a bit bigger.
Adventure tour. Underground classroom.
Oh, wow. Jeez Louise.
Another tour.
Welcome to the auditorium. This is the largest area in our cave. So that water's coming down from the surface with that calcite. Those little soda straws that we saw. Once they get a bit longer, 5-6 inches or so, that hollow center starts to plug up. They become solid. Water comes down the outside. We get stalactites all along the ceiling. And we've got a special type of stalactite in here, right up here in the center. It's called a cave curtain or drapery. Looks like a piece of fabric up there. That's formed by water coming down at an angle instead of straight down. So along the edge, over and over again, leaving behind that calcite, and water drips down to the ground. See it coming down right there. We get stalagmites growing up. And there's an easy way to remember which is which. Stalactite has a C for ceiling, and stalagmite has a G for ground.
Okay.
It works. I've never mixed them up. It's the important part. You can also use stalactites to look tight to the ceiling, and stalagmites might grow to meet them. It doesn't matter as long as it works. When they do grow together, which these two are lined up for, they form a column or a pillar from floor to ceiling. And one more formation we see a lot of in here, over along the wall, this is flowstone. It's formed by water coming out between layers in the rock, flowing right on over. Now, this is still calcite, with that reddish color. It's caused by iron in the soil, so it's basically rust. Calcite on its own is going to be pure white. We will see some of that in here. Now, we're going to head on up to our next stop, and we'll see exactly how fast these things grow.
I found Mars. I found the surface of Mars, guys.
Found the surface of Mars. Breaking news here today. Mr. Amazing found the surface of Mars right here.
Right here. World's most perfect cave column. Right? No. A little too perfect for that. This thing. And this was put in 1941 by the landowner across the street from where he drove in. He had running water for his house. So he got to go to the cave owner at that time. And Worked out very well for them, as you can see. They missed that jump came crashing down into the cave, so now they've got a big hole in the ceiling. And instead of pulling it out, causing more damage to the cave, they kept drilling. And they did find water about 50 feet below us in our lower level. But that's a wet weather spring down there. There's only water a couple months out of the year. It doesn't make a very good water well. So this is closed off on the surface today, but it still tells us a couple of interesting things about the cave. When this was first put in, it was cast iron black. Now we've got this white coat of calcite on here. It's becoming part of the cave. And the ceiling, there's some tree roots hanging down, bridges that run towards the wall. Those are baby cave curtains. They started growing in 1941. So they are 81 years old and just over 3/4 of an inch. So that tells us the average growth rate in here is about 1 cubic inch every 100 years. So think about that. Curtains in front of us. Does anyone want to guess how old those are? 10,000?
Assuming a constant rate, right?
Yes, that is an assumption. So the official answer, they're very old.
They're very old.
No idea. That does assume that constant rate, and it's not a constant rate. This is just what we see today. It depends on that water. So how fast it's coming in, how much calcite's in it, things like that. That growth rate can vary depending on a lot of factors. We're going to head just up here. We'll get a chance to experience the cave in its natural state. We'll talk about some of the lighting systems used in here. But past these curtains, there's a column, and if you look back behind that column, there's a dome with a snow white calcite. So make sure you take a look at that. It's very pretty.
It's the snow white calcite.
That dome of calcite is right back through here.
It's really beautiful. It's white, kind of a creamy white. It's really pretty.
This cave was first discovered in 1862 by a dog, a hunting dog named Juno. Juno was a bloodhound, so he was chasing a small animal and he followed that animal right through a hole in the hillside. Juno's owner, John Knox, he could hear his dog barking, so he crawled to that hole after the dog, found himself in the cave. That's how he discovered he had a cave on his land. So we're going to shut off the lights in here, see how dark it would have been for John and Juno. So you can darken any screens on your phones for just a minute, cover any light sources. They're darkened or covered. Everyone's ready? Get scared, shut your eyes. 3, 2, 1.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead and put your hand in front of your face. See how dark it is.
It is very dark.
Yeah, I can't tell if you did that or not. There's no light in here for your eyes to adjust to. The only light is whatever you bring in with you.
What the heck?
So when John came in here after his dog, he had some sort of candlelight. It's better, right? Yeah. Did you explore the cave like this? No. Would you get your dog?
No.
Poor dog. Now, the cave was safe by candlelight in one form or another up to 1887. We put in a steam-powered generator, and that generator, it actually powered the electric lights in the cave. Right here. 1887, most of the state didn't have electricity yet.
God, that's
They
beautiful.
were still using kerosene lanterns. So people would come from all over, they'd camp out, not the cave. They wanted to see light bulbs hanging in here. It was new technology at the time. They wanted to see what it was all about. Now, you would have come for light bulbs, right? You come for light bulbs, but not your dog.
Yeah.
Okay. So hanging lights like this, it's a great way to see light bulbs, but they don't do a whole lot for the cave. So if you look at that far wall over there, they cast some shadows and everything sort of looks like melted peanut butter in here. It's not very interesting. So in the 1970s, we brought in a lighting expert, installed indirect lighting. We moved these light bulbs to the ground. And today, we see the cave like this.
Yeah.
Makes a difference in here. Now you see all those colors and textures that we have. It doesn't all just look the same. We've got a couple of sinkholes up ahead. We're going to drive over the first, and at the second, we'll talk about the water in the cave and some of the animals that live in here.
Hey! Guess where Lady J is today? I'm at Starbucks. It's impossible having a bad day when you've got Starbucks in your cup. They know how to put love in a cup. Get on over to your nearest Starbucks and find some love in a cup. Yum, yum. Starbucks is not promoting this channel. Maybe in the future they will, but for now, I am promoting Starbucks. Thank you, Starbucks.
That's a sinkhole.
That goes to Arkansas.
That goes to Arkansas,
That goes
yeah.
to Arkansas, guys.
Yeah. They got like 10 million something gallons of, something crazy amount. Yeah.
Holy moly, jeez. Got this?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Here's another sinkhole. Wow.
Dang. There it is.
That's deep. Really it is, guys.
Pretty neat.
This is our second sinkhole. You can stand up if you need a better look. So that first sinkhole we drove over looks a bit like the one that's about 25 feet deep. This one's 35 to 40. And it's basically a dry creek bed right now. So if we had water in here today, this is where we would see it. We get water from the surface through other sinkholes about 3 miles away to the south-southwest towards Springfield Branson Airport. There's a whole bunch of sinkholes out there, and that is our recharge area. It recharges the cave with water. So with enough rain, that water would come in here under the bridge, flow this direction, connect to that other sinkhole, and it all discharges at Indian Spring. And that's right down the hill from the visitor center on the banks of the Little Sac River.
Okay.
So all the water flows through the cave and to the river. Now, most of the year it looks like this, a dry creek bed. We really only get water in here in the spring after heavy rains. So a couple months out of the year, we've got water flowing through here. Now, sometimes we do get a lot of water in the cave. Back at the beginning of May, we had about 6 inches of rain in 48 hours. We had water in here, all the way up here under the bridges. Ooh. You see that high water line there? Now, at that time, we also had about 3 feet of water in the auditorium, where we stopped earlier. No Jeep tours.
No Jeep
They
tours.
don't float. That doesn't work out. Not quite that deep, and guess what? We gained a little in elevation, so there's some dry spots in there.
Oh, gosh.
So we had to wait for the auditorium to drain out to get back to doing Jeep tours. That took about 3 days. Took another 6 or so for this sinkhole to drain out below this lip here, till it was more of a river than a pool of water. So we had water flowing through here for quite a while after that. Now this is looking down into our lower level. It's anywhere from 20 to 50 feet below us at any given time. You head to the right there, that goes out to the spring, but to the left, under the bridge, that heads towards a couple of permanent pools of water. They don't evaporate, so even when there's no water flowing through here, there's still water in those pools, and that's where we have some of the animals that live in here. One of them is on the endangered species list. That one's the Ozark cavefish. It's only found at a few caves in the area. We also have the bristly crayfish or crawdad, and a salamander called a grotto salamander. They're all very small, they're only a few inches long, they're completely white and completely blind, since they spend their whole lives. We don't have a whole lot of them. We've only got a population of about 25. They're called tricolored backs. They are the size of the end of my thumb.
What? Where
Their
are
wingspan's
they?
about 8 to 10 inches or
That's
so.
too cute.
They weigh as much as a quarter. Smallest bats in Missouri. Now, they are solitary bats, so So we don't get those big colonies you see in other caves. You only ever find one at a time in here. They come in here to hibernate, and the rest of the year they're out in the trees. So winter's a good time to find them. Were you hoping to see a bat today?
Of course.
Of course,
Then
yeah.
you have to find one.
Then you have to find one.
Level. So we're up here. This is going to be the older level, okay? And as that water table dropped, it started forming that lower level below us. So we've got 2 levels in here.
And that, what you're pointing down there, is that other level?
Yeah, that's going to be where that lower level is.
So it's not something that humans can go to?
Well, you can. It's about 18 inches high, 3 feet
So
wide.
somebody has gone in there to find
Yes.
those animals together?
Yes, but the only people actually allowed down there are scientists specifically studying the cave. So they only do that maybe once every 5 years.
And if you keep going, then you get to Arkansas?
No.
We went by the mammoth spring, and this thing spits out 10 million gallons
No, we
an
don't
hour.
get. When we're flowing at full capacity, it's about 9,000 gallons a minute.
But they said
which is
the
a
water
lot.
came from up here. So we came
From
up
Missouri.
here to see.
It might come from Missouri, but it's not going to come from this cave system.
There you go.
How much lack of oxygen is there down here?
Not as much as a high in Colorado.
So is there,
We have a natural ventilation between sinkholes and where we enter and such. That temperature different pulls air either from where we enter or through those sinkholes. So the air in here actually
flows.
turns over every hour, hour and a half.
Really?
That dome calcite again, right back through here.
Babe, light, give me light. Give me light, give me light. You got your phones? That's alright. Hey. Pretty nice though. The moment passed, actually. Can't find it.
It's not very bright line.
The moment did pass already.
Really?
Huh?
It's not very bright light.
When we were back there, and then just turned blind space.
Yeah.
That's why I said the moment passed.
Yeah.
Right. We don't need it no more.
It
Yeah.
wasn't very bright.
It'll be alright.
Those first 6 floors were their names right here. February 27th, 1867. Watch your heads right down the passenger side. It's a little low right there. Now, the cave was found in 1862. What was going on in America at that time? Which war?
The Civil War.
There it is. Middle of the American Civil War. So Civil War ran from 1860 to 1865. When John found the cave in 1862, he covered that entrance with brush and he didn't tell anyone about it. He kept that a secret. Now, at that time, Missouri was a battleground state, so either side, the Union or the Confederacy, they could have come in and taken his land, his house, all his resources, including the cave. And they wanted caves, not just for storage or shelter, but because they had something they needed. They wanted caves that were rich in nitrates, and these are usually found in large bat populations for the bat guano. We don't have a lot of bats here, so not a lot of guano. But they would have come in looking anyways. They would have taken that soil, put it in a large vat like this, called a leaching bath. They'd pour water over that, over and over again, to get all the nitrates out. That would come out at the bottom as a muddy slurry. They'd take that outside, pour it into a kettle over an open flame, and boil it down. And they'd add in the wood ash, and as that water evaporated, they'd get small white crystals forming along the bottom and the rim. And these were potassium nitrate. You probably know better as saltpeter. So they'd grind up that saltpeter, mix it with sulfur and charcoal. And what does that make? Yeah, gunpowder. Gunpowder was in short supply during the Civil War. Everybody wanted it. So if anyone found out John Knox had a cave on his land, they would have come in here looking for something we don't even have, probably destroying the cave in the process. So because he hid it, we can still enjoy all these beautiful formations today. By 1867, the war was over, and those young women could come in and explore the cave for the first time. Now, the auditorium here, it's got an interesting history. In the 1920s, during Prohibition, this was an illegal speakeasy, nightclub, alcohol, gambling, music.
Jack Kennedy come down here? Had a bar down here or something?
Well, it was Prohibition, so who knows?
Jack Kennedy was a rum runner.
That only lasted a few years. One bootlegger shot another. Yeah, ruined it for everyone. The sheriff couldn't ignore that. He had to shut it down at that point. And in the 1960s, this stage was built, and we actually had music acts here on Saturday nights. It was a radio broadcast called Farmerama. We had a lot of big names in country music in. Buck Owens, Ray Price, the Presley Country Jubilee from Grayson. They got their start on this very stage. So a lot of interesting things.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Stage lights if you look up.
That is cool. Oh, there is stage lighting up there.
All over the cave and all the formations in here. We're going to go take a look at some of the damage that water can do to a cave. We do have low spots along the way, so driver's side, watch your heads.
I'm listening. Thank you for the heads up. Heads up.
School back there.
Yabba dabba doo!
Watch your heads.
Thank you.
Very sharp.
Thank you. I don't want to take out the cave roof here with my thick head.
Slightly lower ceiling, right here on the driver's side.
Thank you.
Keep watching those heads. It gets lower through here. Getting lower. And lower.
And lower.
No, not lower again.
How low can you go?
Right. Actually, I'm really glad we didn't bring the big light now.
Yeah.
They already brought the lighting expert ahead of time, so
Right.
no need for it. It is so pretty.
Take a look
Jeez
at
Louise.
all of this rock over here. And at one point in time, that all used to be part of the ceiling. We call this breakdown. And what happened, the cave was full of water at one point. When that drained out, the ceiling couldn't support itself anymore. So it collapsed. This happens several times. Water would rise, get in on cracks and joints in the rock, saturating it, weakening it, and it would collapse again when that water drained out. So we've got 3 areas of collapse in here. The first is this shelf right overhead, right there. Second's right here. And the last is that big footprint on the ceiling. Now, this is reaching the point of stability. So this is a dome shape. It's very stable. We don't need to worry about this collapsing anymore. You believe me, right? It doesn't sound like you really believe me. You remember how slow everything grows in here, right? That 1 cubic inch every 100 years. You can always look how big all these formations are. Including that guy that grew there. So that tells us this collapse was one of the earlier things that happened in the formation of the cave. Okay. It's been a while. That helps, right?
So they think it started here.
What started here?
It was the earlier portion of the forming of the cave. Like
It would have been one of the earlier things because, cave has to form first before you get these formations that grow.
I was wondering about all that.
Right? So you have rock that's got your aquifer, and that's where it's being dissolved and forming the cave system. And as that water drains out, eventually we get these formations growing. So this collapse would have been sometime in between those 2 things happening. When that all happened, I have no idea. I can just give you kind of a general relative idea. Okay? So this collapse happened before these formations started growing.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, we're going to head on through here.
Look at how pretty that is.
As
right
we
there.
do,
Get a snap
look
of
up,
that, would you?
and you'll see the highest concentration of stalactites in the cave. Our next stop's got some of the largest and prettiest formations. It's also the first area the explorers came to when they came in. And I'm going to show you how they would have seen that in 1867.
There's Bigfoot. He's right there.
Look up.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it is cool. It's like she said about the air cycling through. You can feel the flow.
You can hold any flashes or bright lights or anything. We'll get the lights on in just a couple of minutes. But first, 1867, when they explored in here, they used candle lanterns for light.
Oh my gosh.
Something like this. Just a candle and tin can.
Oh my gosh.
Very simple, but it directs the light. You're not being blinded by an open flame. And it protects it from any drips of water. It's a decent amount of light. It's enough to see where I'm going.
It's true, it is.
But it's not really enough to appreciate how pretty these formations really are. You have to get right up on it to see those calcite crystals sparkle.
Wow. Pretty.
So they used candle lanterns in here
Wow.
about 20 years before the lights were put in. And today, we see the cave like this.
Oh. Holy moly.
We call these 2 the twins.
Are stalactites worth money? They take a long time to form, I'm just wondering. Must be valuable, right?
Any questions?
Yeah, are they worth money?
Not if you damage them. The only money they're worth is what you pay them.
Oh, stalactite hunting.
Any other questions?
Is this mud? It looks like mud.
Mud? Well,
It's so weirdly. They're not continu. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
okay. Sometimes it's just a
Rock.
shadow.
It's rock.
It's just a
Yeah. Okay. What about that one? Looks
So, why would
It's just
the,
gonna be so some of the iron.
why would
the
the calcite just stick like that and keep going instead of falling.
So why do you
maybe
get
collecting
stalactites
on
and not stalagmites?
Yeah.
So it's a chemical reaction is what's happening.
Okay.
So as that water hangs there, it's forcing the carbon dioxide out and leaving behind the calcite. It's forcing that precipitation of the mineral. It's the same process as, let's see, what's a similar one? It's going to be similar with salt water. Like when that evaporates away, you get the salt crystals left behind. Or it's the same kind of thing that's happening when you open a can of soda, forcing the CO2 out. This just happens to result in minerals being deposited.
Oh, wow. It is. Look at those ones.
Anything else? No?
Each one unique like that. That's so interesting.
So above here, right above us, is land?
Yes.
That's a good question.
Yes, it's going to be a bit of a hill that's back behind the visitor center and off the side of the parking lot. So you'll see where we come out, and we went in under the parking lot, which is that way. That way. There you go.
So this is how thick, like from here to the topsoil?
20 feet, I think. Thereabouts. Something like that. There's not a lot of topsoil around here. It's mostly rock. So. You're lucky if you get.
Look how pretty with all the crystals, babe.
Huh?
Look how pretty with all the crystals right there. Oh my gosh. Just...
Yeah.
As we head out,
This is called the
I'm
twins.
going to get very close to this.
The video does not do it justice. I'll tell you right now. It
This is
does
the
not.
lowest point in the cave. If you're on the driver's side, congratulations. You get to play a game of limbo with me.
Oh.
You will need to duck. I will be ducking as well. There's a corner I take you right a few inches. If you need to rearrange. You can also step up here.
Do you want to sit on that side?
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'll quack. You got to quack, right?
No, you got to
She
go.
said duck.
Yeah.
Everyone else is good with ducking.
Quack.
Okay.
Quack, quack.
We're ducking.
We're ducking. They're so beautiful. Oh my gosh, man. Wow. I could reckon though, if you did come in here, you would think you had struck it rich, right? Like, I found the mother lode. There ain't nothing in here. There's nothing in here.
Watch your heads.
Watch your head.
You'd be exploring this thing forever.
Low ceiling.
Look at that, babe. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Isn't that beautiful?
Quack, quack.
Quack, quack.
Ducking.
We're ducking. Smart asses. Come on, smart asses out there.
And watch out for this rock right here. That jumps out a little bit.
It'll jump out at you, okay.
Right there.
I got the jumping rock over here, guys. You gotta watch him. You gotta watch him. Oh my God.
One more stop right outside. Watch your heads on the exit here. A little low in places.
Okay, that's a cement wall right there. Okay, I know a block wall when I see one. That's not.
Let's see.
Dang, that was cool, man. So this ain't the same place we came in, huh?
No, this is a different area.
This is over by the spring area?
Watch
then?
those low ceilings.
Dang. Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's so
I see. Dang.
Take a look around. See if you can spot the original entrance. Where the dog went in. You find that. Right back here in the corner. Right there. That little hole is the original entrance. About 18 inches high, it's a couple feet wide. And you would have crawled for about 20 feet before standing up in there.
Wow.
So that's where the dog went in. And that is also where those first explorers went in. They crawled to that hole as well.
Wow.
We don't know what
Yeah.
happened.
Wow.